guys missed the salam alaikum, but that was it. All right. Yeah, so we're here on a Friday night to learn about personal finance. Very exciting stuff. Inshallah, we're going to have a fun time together, an educational time. There's no better way to begin than with the words of Allah Azza wa Jal. So inshallah, we're going to get Brother Bilal to give us a nice recitation, followed up by a short Islamic reminder, and then we can get into the rest of the presentation, inshallah. Whenever you're ready. Yes. Do you want the microphone? Yes.
Let me get to the last comment. He's good.
I gotta warm seat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن الذين كفروا وصدوا عن سبيل الله ثم ماتوا وهم كفار فلن يغفر الله لهم فلا تهنوا وتدعوا إلى السلم وأنتم الأعلون والله معكم ولن يتركم أعمالكم إنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وإن تؤمنوا وتتقوا يؤتكم أجوركم ولا يسألكم أموالكم إن يسألكموها فيحفكم تبخلوا ويخرج أضغانكم ها أنتم هؤلاء تدعون لتنفقوا في سبيل الله فمنكم من يبخل ومن يبخل فإنما يبخل عن نفسه والله الغني وأنتم الفقراء وإن تتولوا يستبدل قوما غيركم ثم لا يكونوا أمثالكم. This worldly life is no more than play and amusement. But if you are faithful and mindful of Allah, He will grant you your full reward and will not ask you to donate all your wealth. If He were to do so and pressure you, you would withhold and He would bring out your resentment. Here you are being invited to donate a little in the cause of Allah. Still some of you withhold, and whoever does so is only to their own loss. For Allah is the self-sufficient, whereas you stand in need of Him. If you still turn away, He will replace you with another people, and they will not be like you. So the reason I selected these ayat is because they do group a bunch of meanings that are very important when it comes to talking about money. And I don't know why Hassan asked me to come, maybe because the treasure aspect, but inshallah, money is an important thing in our religion and in dunya especially. And money is probably one of the bigger things as well that can either throw you in Jannah or no. There's other ayats that were, that talk about finances, such as, ayat about riba and interest, and how the effects of riba and interest are detrimental not only to you but to society as well. And then al-mal wal-banuna zinatul hayati dunya, right? And Allah starts with mal, right? Because it is a zina, it is something that we like. وَيَحِبُّونَ الْمَالَ حُبًّا جَمًّا. People, like human beings, naturally love money a lot, right? But it is about what you do with that money is what determines what happens to you, right? And Allah here talks in the ayah about people who withhold, who don't spend, who are greedy, right? When Allah tells them to spend a little bit, right? And there's other examples of how a sadaqah can be a huge investment and Allah multiplies it, right? And you will see the rewards of it in Jannah, right? But another ayah in this passage that was very important is إِنَّمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ. This life is nothing but amusement and enjoyment or games, right? This life is gonna pass. And now Allah says, وَإِن تُؤْمِنُوا وَتَتَّقُوا يُؤْتِكُمْ أُجُورَكُمْ وَلَا يَسْأَلْكُمْ أَمْوَالَكُمْ. If you believe and be mindful of Allah, He will give you your reward, right? And He will not take your money from you. And so we have to understand the magnitude and importance of dunya in order to then see what to do with our money. Because if we know that this dunya is gonna go and this is not, where we're gonna live all our lives, then what's holding you back from donating all you have, especially knowing that the reward that Allah is saving for you is way, way greater. Right? So pass it back to you, Hassan.
For the reminder and the recitation, brother. May Allah reward you. All right, so having said that, a little disclaimer from our end. I'm very far from a scholar or a sheikh. Inshallah, there's some very qualified people coming up over the weekend and on Monday. So this presentation, inshallah, is going to be very informative on personal finance. As for the issues of contention, controversy, whatnot, save those for the lucky guys on Saturday. Bismillah. Okay, so we are going to begin. Today, inshallah, we're going to be going through a few things here. So we're going to begin with what finance is, as well as financial literacy and personal finance. The title had a couple big words, so inshallah, we'll break that down for everybody. We're going to go through tracking and budgeting and knowing that there is a difference between the two. To have progress in anything, the very first step is that you have to track it. You have to progress and you have to measure it, or you can't really tell if there's an improvement. We're going to be going on to income. This is the juicy part of the lecture, where we figure out how to make money, especially as students. And then we're going to transition into the sadder part of things, which is the expenses when the money goes. We're going to learn how to stop that leak, how to make sure that we are not losing money and we're keeping as much of it as we can so that we can use it towards beneficial things. And then we're going to try to develop a guideline or a framework for how we should be thinking about money. We're all Muslims, so we love rules. So we'll put some onto our money as well. And then we'll look at what that actually means for us as students in spending, banking, and credit. So these are two things that we have a lot of misinformation about because the information is not completely out there and it's not really the most attractive thing to learn about credit, except it affects a lot of parts of our lives, even as Muslims. So that's the agenda for today. Who am I? My name is Hassan. Some of you have seen me around maybe, if not. Assalamu alaikum. So to give you guys a little bit of background on myself, I come from a small town with some really big mountains. It's called Calgary. Brother Zain was just there enjoying the views, skiing. I can tell you guys all about that after. But I did my bachelor's in biological sciences there. And then in my last few years, I pursued a minor in business. So I took a few courses in accounting and finance, nothing extensive, but there was a little bit of that formal education piece. I came all the way to Hamilton to then pursue a master's in physical therapy, which in and of itself brought me to have probably 10 or 12 jobs all throughout school, not all at once, but along the way. Up until now, I try to support myself as much as I can, and they've all been in different industries. So I have a good amount of experience in the part-time job realm, and then I've also had some full-time sales jobs where I was deep into the financial area. Moving on from that, once I got a little bit older, I decided to open up a business. So I started a property maintenance business that I run in Calgary, and I've been doing that for 4 years. Alhamdulillah, that's helped support me throughout school, and I currently manage that. So that opened up the doors of, or at least open up the doors to the knowledge of finance and kind of how to manage a company and manage your own finances. Because when you open up a business, no one tells you that you have to do your taxes. No one tells you that you have to keep track of receipts and invoices. So this is all stuff you have to learn by yourself. Currently, I'm working as a research coordinator at St. Joseph's in respiratory rehab. So back to the science world. If anyone has questions about that after, maybe we can discuss. But long story short, I have a big passion for business and science, that combination. So I spent a lot of time educating myself. I've spent hundreds of hours self-educating, as well as hundreds and thousands of dollars on courses for how to invest, what is finance, this kind of stuff, because it is a passion of mine. So, i.e. student services, we wanted to take a different direction with this lecture. We wanted to really focus on what personal finance is within the realm of being a student. Because you can go and take any course on personal finance. The government of Canada has a bunch of free ones that you can take, but they're not going to tell you what the best prices are for chicken in the area, or what the best ways to make money are on campus, where you don't have to leave the walls of this university. So inshallah, a lot of this info is going to be like detailed stuff that we've had to figure out in the past year and a half that I've been here, as well as your typical personal finance stuff. Nonetheless, we will begin. So we're going to start with a quick little 2-minute activity. Meet Ahmed and Zainab. So Ahmed is our Miskeen international student. He's in engineering. Make dua for him. He is jobless, which very commonly coincides with being good at Zing. He lives on residence and he uses a meal plan. He can speak Arabic and English, and he has a debit card. Zainab, on the other hand, has the information there that you saw seconds ago. No worries, I got it memorized. So she lives at TMU and she commutes to McMaster. Yeah, Zainab's doing a little bit better. So she's at TMU but commutes to McMaster. She's a straight A life-size student. She works part-time as a tutor. She buys lunch and dinner at school, and she owns a car and pays her own phone bill. So these are your two cases. I want you guys to write down 3 tips that you would give them to help them improve their financial situation. Open book, so use each other, use whatever resources you want. We're going to do a reflection at the end of this and see what we've learned. So for now, write down 3 little tips of what you would give each of these people if they came up and asked you, I need help making money. And we have some paper. Yeah, I can have that one. You guys can share too, 1 or 2 people. All right, 1 minute left. 1 minute to help our systems. All right, let's bring it in. Thank you all for doing that. We're gonna see if we've learned anything at the end of this hour, or if I get fired. Bismillah. Okay, we got some comments as well. So one caveat that I didn't mention on the last slide, a lot of this content is actually based off the Government of Canada's financial literacy program. So they do have something out there. It's a big 36-page document, as well as tips for people for every subject, how to save money, how to make money. Having said that, it's more boring than watching grass grow. So I tried to spice it up a little bit, add some color to it. And it's also not as practical for students, but the information is out there. So I want to get a quick vibe check of the room. How many people here have a job? Feel free to put your hand up. Co-op counts, anything counts, anything with an income. Okay. How many people are international students here? Beautiful. Okay. How many people here have kids? Okay, that's good. If so, then you should be given the talk. Right, okay. Inshallah, everyone has a little bit to learn. So let's begin. What is finance? Finance, obviously, is regarding the subject of money on a societal level, macro scale, micro scale. Financial literacy, what does that mean? So the definition here is that financial literacy is the possession or acquisition of skills, knowledge, and behaviors that allow an individual to make informed decisions regarding money. So it's a skill set, right? It's possessing different things that essentially allow you to make smart decisions when it comes to money. What is personal finance? It's all the decisions that involve you or a family. So the family unit, the individual unit. So financial literacy is the skill, personal finance is the subject. We got those two out of the way. Before I move on to the next slide, I want to ask, why do you guys think this is important to learn about? Aside from it being super fun, what's the value of learning about personal finance? Because it's not something that we come across too often. Yes.
Long-term lose out on tens of thousands or even more money that could be used for other things.
Exactly, yeah. So the brother said it can teach you how to save money, how to make sure you're not losing on tens of thousands of dollars that compounds in the future, which is like a principle of compounding. When you do things early on, you can benefit from them a long amount of time. And by the time you're 40, people that start doing the same actions as you don't even have the time to catch up because that thing has compounded year after year and you're growing exponentially.
You can potentially break the cycle of poverty, creating generational skills within your bloodline.
That's heavy, yeah. So you can be the famous quote, be the first in your family to break the cycle of poverty. You know, be the one that creates generational wealth. People think back and they're like, our granddad was the one that set us up for success. And they might even make dua for you long after you've passed away because you gave them that advantage in life. And we know that having money is one of the things that Allah made it okay for us to be jealous of a person that has money and spends it in the way of Allah, because that's a way of doing ibadah that you don't have available to you. That and having knowledge. So those are awesome suggestions. I wrote down a few parts here. This is not an exhaustive list, but money is an integral part of life. It's been around for a long time. It's probably going to be around until we die. So we should learn how to use it. Knowledge is also power. So you guys might have heard a quote, with great power comes great responsibility, by the famous Spider-Man. There's also a quote by Mark Manson. He writes some self-help books, and he says, with great responsibility comes great power. So remember that. With great responsibility comes great power. The more we choose to accept responsibility in our lives, the more power we will exercise over our lives. Accepting responsibility for our problems is thus the first step to solving them. So knowledge of anything is you accepting responsibility that you don't know everything about that subject. And with that comes power, because then you can begin to make better informed decisions. The third thing is that you're able to provide for you and your family. When you learn about money, how it works, it's not a scary thing. It's not an evil thing. You learn about these things, and then inshallah, you're able to benefit more than just yourself. Sets you up for long-term success. We've always heard the things you do in your 20s build you up in your 30s and the rest of your life. And that's very true. A lot of rich people that you speak to will tell you that the things you do in your 20s will make it so you can do things you want to do later in your life, not things that you have to do. And finally, it allows you to contribute to your community. It allows you to contribute to your community. The Prophet ﷺ said, as Abu Hurairah narrated, the upper hand is better than the lower one, meaning that a person that gives is better than a person that is constantly taking. So in this case, it is better to have money to be able to help people, to be able to contribute to community. So it's not a bad thing. Okay, a good way to think about things. This is a good rule for life. If you want to figure out how to do something, first figure out how to not do it. So if you want to figure out what financial literacy is and how to be financially literate, find out the opposite. So what are some terrible things that someone who is terrible with money would do? Now, these might seem obvious to you, but see how many traits you might have, because I know I have a few that are on there. So let's look forward. Oh, sorry. Let's not look forward. Let's see. So what are some things that someone who's really, really bad with money would do? You guys can shout them out.
Either buy campus food.
Buy campus food. That's a whole different problem.
Yo, that.
So we got some people that said spend recklessly. So that's exactly what it is. Excessively spending, not having a budget or any sense of money, minimal financial literacy, and no job or income, as well as, do you have something? Uber every day, exactly. So $50 and $20 Ubers every day to campus. I feel like that might have been personal. Best we'll leave that at that. Okay, so we know what it means to be not good with money. How can we learn about money? What are some accurate and reliable ways? First is the Quran and the Sunnah. Always go back to the Quran and the Sunnah because it has invaluable, priceless knowledge that we can't even begin to break down or exhaust from its benefits. Every time you go back to it, you might learn something different. And that's knowledge that's timeless. Branch out, speak to knowledgeable people such as business owners. SubhanAllah, the way money works is like you can learn about it in school as much as you want, but until you go out there and really are in the field, you figure out that people have certain tricks, people have certain tips that you just can't get out of textbooks. And third are courses. So universities, Government of Canada, informal courses are really useful as well, like YouTube. And then experience. Go out and try things, start different businesses, do things when you're young, when you can afford the risk. All right, so the first thing is measuring. This is step number 1. Where is your money right now? For most of us, Allahu Alam, it's probably in a bank account, or it's in our wallet. That might be the entirety of it. But as you get older, inshallah, you're going to have more money and it's going to be spread. Some of it might be in a bank account, it might be in your car, it might be in gold, it might be in different parts of the world. So you're going to need a way to keep track of all this. Even now, we should get used to this and we should begin to track where our money is, because there's no way to measure progress, like I said, without being able to track something. Think about it. If you want to be good at school, you got to look at your grades. If you want to get better at school, you have to see that those grades are increasing. If you want to learn about personal finance, increase your financial capabilities, you have to track this. If you don't know where you're ever at, it's okay. But inshallah, you take steps towards improving that. If you want to get better in the gym or whatever, you got to track how much weight you're moving, right? So you can't track something if you don't measure it. Second part of this is how to set up a budget. So once you do start tracking your money, that's the first step. Then you want to start to set up a budget. So budgets are essential. If you have a goal, you need, if you have a goal towards something, then you need a plan to execute, and that's exactly what a budget is. If you want to build a house, you're going to need a blueprint. And what does that blueprint look like? This is a really basic one. So once you figure out your tracking, how much you're spending, how much is coming in, how much is coming out, you want to make personal goals. What is your goal? Is it to take your mom to Hajj? Is it to buy a Nissan 350Z? You got to refigure out your goals. Or is it just to graduate school and not have a bunch of debt? What are your goals? Those are personal. So once you figure those out, then you break up the money that you have available. You minus how much you're making versus how much you're spending. And whatever's left, this is what you want to use, this 50-30-20 rule. You're going to put 50% towards your needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% towards your savings. This is a very generic blanket rule that everyone can adopt, and then you can change it, mix it around as you please. I won't get into budgeting a crazy amount because there's so much info on there. It's like the most popular concept. What I will do is try to give you guys personal stuff. These are the recommendations that I've seen. So this first app here is called Wealthica. So this stuff I would be writing down. Inshallah, there's going to be a lot of these real tips that you guys can check out after, and you can test them out for yourself. So Wealthica, what it does, it aggregates every finance account you have. If you invest, if you're on Questrade, if you're on Wealthsimple, whatnot, it tracks every transfer, every up and down, and it pairs it with your bank account. It pairs it with your government loans. It pairs it with any sort of finance you have attached to you. And it gives you this beautiful spreadsheet that shows your net worth. So you don't have to do all the calculations. It tells you everything, what cash you have, what money you have, what debts you have, all that in one, and it puts it into a beautiful chart with a lot of stats. The second thing is Mint and Credit Karma. These are made by Intuit. You guys know them, massive financial company, very trusted. They have a long history. So those ones are like as safe as it can get in terms of putting your financial info on the internet. Mint, I think, is shutting down this year. They announced that. So Credit Karma is their transfer over. And Credit Karma, you can also do free credit checks, which you're going to need later on. If you don't want to put your info online, you can make an Excel sheet and track it this way. So expenses, debts, savings, that'll give you a good idea. Those are the three big ones. And then I'll show you two more that I kind of liked. So this one, very simple: income, salary, dividends, gifts, savings, expenses. The most important thing, honestly, income and expenses, and just see where you're at currently for basics. And this is what a monthly spending would look like, for example, for expenses. So this is literally mine. I just switched up the numbers a little bit. But this is what it looks like. So you track your expenses, you know how much you're spending every month, and then you kind of know what to expect too. And this, well, that might seem stressful at the start, but it gives you freedom because you know, okay, if I want to go crazy one month for some reason, then I know I just need to eat less quick chick or whatever the month before. Next. Okay, this is the one, get your pencil sharpened. Inshallah, there'll be a good amount of tips for how to make some money. Yeah, someone mentioned Wealthica in the chat. So exactly, that's what that big chart was the Wealthica app. Sorry, I'm not great with keeping track of the chat. So income, there's a lot of different types of income, passive income, portfolio income, whatnot. What I'm focusing on here right now is the three types that I think are most pertinent to students and most accessible to us right now with the average income that we have. So there's three types that most of us are going to experience. It's hourly salary jobs. Those are the typical things like working at McDonald's or your co-ops, your internships. The next is contracts and freelancing. And the third is investments and awards. And now I'm going to get into these a little bit more. So the way I like to think about this is work. So this was the first one, salary and hourly jobs. This is when you're applying to a job. A job exists, you're applying to it, you're going to get paid an hourly salary. It's safe, it's relatively straightforward, easy. You'll get paid an okay amount. You might get some like 50% off discounts for your friends. That's kind of as far as it's going to go. You're going to get the money and you're going to get some perks. These are easy. How you do it, you have a stacked resume and you go in and you do good at the interview. And if you don't have a stacked resume and you're not good at interviews, then look at the student service courses that we offer or the lectures and come by, inshallah. We can hook you up with a nice resume template and we can help you guys out with that. Everyone's good on that one. So a few of the different streams that I've seen for these, for how to apply to jobs. So the McMaster Work Program. Does anyone know what that is? Okay, awesome, beautiful. So the first thing, on Mosaic, there is a student work program. It may be open to international students, if I'm not mistaken. But you go onto Mosaic, and they have a section, I think it's careers, and you can apply as a student based on your income, what you're looking for, and that's where they hire people on campus. So the people that work at the front desk, the people that work super hard all around in the libraries and whatnot, those guys are all getting jobs for the most part from the student work program. So they want their students to work and have money. So they'll hire you on campus, inshallah. And none of them are crazy difficult jobs. You can be on campus, you can work from your residence, come down, it's a few minute walk. It's a pretty nice setup. The second thing is a student partners program with McPherson Institute. So these provide undergrad students with opportunities to participate as partners with faculty, instructors, and staff on projects. In our program, for example, they posted some videos regarding different techniques, lab assessments that you can do on people, and they got students to record them. That was it. That was it for the semester. So they got these students, they hired them, and they recorded videos of them doing different clinical tasks. So they have that, and they have that for all the different programs around. So look into these things, and they're easy money. It's short contracts. You make money while you're on campus. The next thing is the stores around campus. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Talk to the people in there, figure out if you can work at the store on campus or at the Booster Juice or whatever sounds interesting to you. There's Muslim organizations as well. Those are always a plus because you're helping out the Ummah, you're getting hasanat, and inshallah, all the people in these Muslim organizations usually have a position if it's not volunteer work, but they do have positions as well. So if someone's working there, that means that you could work there as well. The next thing that's huge, I want to emphasize this, is applying in person and virtually to the places around here. I know this might sound basic, but genuinely ask yourself if you've actually tried these things. Personally, I think I've maybe had 1 out of 13 jobs that I've gotten online. When you're applying online, you're applying to such a big pool of people that it's much more difficult. And I understand it varies based on the program that you're in the field that you're in. But for jobs, for part-time jobs that are around here, take your resume, get a nice haircut, fix up the hijab, do whatever you got to do, and take the resume and go in there and say hi with a smile and make sure that you're presentable and talk to the people. And once they see a young person and they're confident and they're walking in, then they're going to put you above a lot of the people that are applying virtually. There are processes and systems that they do have to follow at times, but I've seen massive success with that. So think outside the box a little bit, step away from the pack. Okay, the next one is freelancing and contracts. So if you're not having any luck applying to jobs, because a lot of people do, and they don't get a single call back, they don't get a single interview, the next step, and this is my favorite, this is when you just make your own job. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds, but there are different levels of difficulty and there's different levels of reward. So in these jobs, the money fluctuates. It's a little bit more contractual, but you have a way bigger payout if you have the skill set for it and the aptitude to really show people the value of your skills. What do I mean by this? So some examples would be like private tutoring. So this would be like private tutoring. This would be, for example, for engineers, a real example that I know people have done before. They've gone to shops and they've simply asked them, hey, you guys need your website redesigned? And they will redesign it, a portion of it, or they will do it for free, and then they will get other work by that. Or they will show them previous projects that they've done. You do the first restaurant for free, you do a solid job, you go to the next one, you'd be like, hey, look at this website I built. You want something like it? $500, $1,000. And a lot of these websites will, a lot of these restaurants will do that. Another person I know that I spoke to designed the menus for restaurants. He went around to all the halal restaurants in the area. And the halal restaurants vary a lot in terms of the quality of like menus and whatnot and their marketing. So he found a gap and he filled it, and he was getting paid and doing good work for the community. So that one's specific to if you're good at web design or graphics. Other thing is the companies that do freelancing. So there are set companies that make it easy for you, like Fiverr and Upwork. If you go onto these companies, you can market a skill. One in particular I want everyone to think about is if they know Arabic, if they know Arabic, or if they know a different language. You can often find people back home in our countries and teach them how to apply, either to apply to schools or either to practice interviews or just learn the language of English. So that's a skill a lot of us have in these rooms. We speak dual languages. So either find a gap, find people here that are struggling to learn English, that know your language, and you can tutor them that way. And you can do that privately or through a service, or find people back home that are trying to come across. And you might get lucky and meet some Qatari prince that is trying to come. I doubt it would be a prince, but but there are stories of people meeting pretty prestigious, wealthy people that end up paying them like a crazy amount of money. So that is an option as well. I know it's funny, but these are all stories that I know to be true personally. So And the final thing, in terms of making a job, reach out to your network. So professors, the way I got my current job right now, I was doing a clinical rotation in the hospital. And I just simply, any doctor I'd come across, a person I'd work with, I'm like, hey, I'm doing research right now. If you need help as soon as I finish, I can hop on with you. And then that is how I got the connection. So it was just simply by talking to people. So do that with your professors. I've done that with the professors in the program as well here, and another job actually came out of that, alhamdulillah. So use that. Send them your CV. Tell them, hey, this is the list of skills that I have. I'm good at this. Wherever you need me, whatever I can benefit you in, I'll take on that role. And a lot of them will surprisingly be like, I don't know if this fits what you're looking for, but here's a job. And you take it on, you say, yes, I'll do it. And then you figure out how to do it amazingly. And you get paid for it, inshallah. The final thing here, and probably one of the most underutilized, I take that back, it is the most underrated and underutilized form of income for students, and that is awards and scholarships. There is a stat here I'll pull up. $200 million. Yes, I did right there, right? Okay, $200 million. According to Scholarships Canada, which helps match students with available scholarships, approximately $200 million in scholarships were listed last year on the organization's database that were unclaimed. $200 million of free awards, free money that were unclaimed on their website. So that means 1 in every 20 awards they had 0 applicants. If any of you applied to those, you probably would have got it because you're the only applicant in that case. So this shows the importance and the underutilization of awards. This is free money. Compare this to working an hourly job. How many hours would you need to make $2,000? At a minimum wage job, that's 113 hours. A $2,000 scholarship is not out of the ordinary. Like $2,000 for a scholarship is it's very normal. Yet to work that as a part-time job, you need 113 hours. Think about that. You can get the same scholarship in 1 hour, or you can get it in 113 hours. It's just that for some reason, we don't make the connection that this is the same money, the same type of money, just a different form. So use this. There's 4 websites I've listed here, there's 2 websites here. Scholarships Canada, which is a very big one. It's not the highest quality, but it gives you the most volume. The highest quality ones are going to be on WordSpring. Those are the ones that McMaster lists. These are called internal scholarships. These are the highest quality because they're meant specifically for McMaster students. Other people can't apply to them. So you're going to have some that you get when you enter university. You're going to have some that are part of your program, the Faculty of Science, the Faculty of Engineering, the Faculty of Arts, the Faculty of whatever. You're going to have some that are specific to that. Those are the ones, keep your eye on, and those are the ones when you go home. If there's one thing you do well from today, go home, look up WordSpring, find out, do their little application and figure out what awards are for you. And you also get bursaries, which is free government money. In undergrad, I collected around, I think, 17 grand of free money that was just given that you don't have to pay back. And I have friends that throughout their whole undergrad kept applying for bursaries and grants. And this is a portion of money that you don't have to pay back to the government. It's given solely based off your situation. So there's a few types of scholarships that are just funny that are out there, like left-handed scholarships. So you can get a scholarship for being left-handed. There was one that was a letter to your mother. So you get $20,000 if you write a nice letter to your mom and you win the scholarship. So yeah, I don't know, like 20K is a lot of money, but people don't use these. This was what, so there, yeah. Where do you apply for bursaries? In the McMaster application, it's the 2-in-1. You submit an application on Mosaic, and it will automatically apply. It will automatically send forth an application for government bursaries, as well as the scholarships that are available to you. So you go in there, you put in your information, and then a screen is going to pop up. It'll tell you what scholarships are available to you. It'll automatically qualify you for bursaries. And then there are additional bursaries. Those ones you can look up on Google and what bursaries are available to me. So here there was a hijabi on the screen that she's not there anymore. She went to go pray. But she was there an hour ago, I promise. So this right here is a $70,000 community leadership scholarship. I do know a person personally that got this scholarship as well, 70 grand. They were covered for their whole undergrad, masters, whatever they wanted. But this shows you they put a hijabi on the front page. Like these guys want us to apply, unless it's a trap. I don't know. But from what they put, they want us to apply, and it's 70 grand for a scholarship. So long story short, take advantage of these. And if you need resources, if you need help, let me know, inshallah. I can try my best to help out. What are a few other ways we can make money aside from these? The first one is student loans. So this is one of the areas where there's a little bit of ikhtilaf and difference of opinion amongst the scholars. I know that in particular OSAP gives a grace period, and the reason is because of the grace period of interest. So a lot of them do have interest in the contract, but they give you a period of time to pay it off where they don't collect this interest. That's as deep as I'll go into it. If you do apply for a loan, there is a bursary attached to it. That is the only benefit of applying to a loan, is you get the free money. So I know in the Ontario government, I didn't confirm this myself, but someone that recently applied told me you can apply for the loan and get the bursary and then exempt the loan. So there's a way to apply, but you exclude the loan part of it. You only get the grant, which is free money, as we've said. That's based on financial situation. So that is one way. The second way is business. I don't want to get too deep into this one because business and investing are a little bit more advanced and they need entire lectures and courses and degrees on their own. But a few fun ideas, you guys can write them down. I know they've been successful for people that started them semi-quickly. Car detailing. So you go to people's houses, knock on their door, hey, I'll clean up your car for $50 outside. And then you vacuum it, you do whatever you got to do on there. You can look up on Instagram car detailing businesses and just copy what they do. Another one is landscaping, snow plowing. You start off doing driveways, and then you get a little bigger. You get a group of guys, and you rent a snow plow, like one truck with a snow plow, and then you go to plazas and you ask them, hey, do you guys need your snow plowed? It's coming to mind that we live in Ontario and not Alberta, so this one might not be as applicable here. Doesn't snow often enough. Masjid carpet cleaning. One of the brothers brought that idea up. You buy a big heavy duty carpet cleaner. And yeah, maybe making Quran covers. So those are a few little ideas. Investing, we're not going to get into, but that's essentially whatever it may be, like halal stocks, crypto, all that kind of stuff. A good resource for investing is Joe Bradford. He's like one of the pioneers in the West on Islamic finance right now. So that's a name that you guys can look up. Do you guys have any ideas that were not listed above? Let's see if we can come up with a better idea, the brothers or the sisters, from what was not listed on there. I'll give you guys a minute. Selling old stuff. That is a personal favorite. Go to your parents' basement, sell whatever they haven't touched in a year or two, and I promise you they will not notice. But that is an amazing thing. Selling old stuff, old technology, before it gets old. As soon as you're not using it, sell it. Clothing, you'd be surprised. You post something on Marketplace, and within a day or two, it gets sold. I'll tell you guys a funny story really quickly. Morality-wise, we'll talk about it, but whatever. One of my neighbors had a free cat post, the thing that the cats climb on, cat tree. They had a free cat tree up on their driveway. So I took it over. The intention was to buy a cat, but instead I posted it on Kijiji. I'm like, hey, $100 for a cat tree. And it was gone within like an hour. So I did no work essentially. I just took something that was free and posted it and it was gone. So there was opportunities out there. Yeah, go ahead.
Selling car parts, like getting the car parts.
That is a good idea. There's a lot of that. Yeah, so selling car parts from a junkyard. Yeah, that one's gonna require some work, but definitely. Do the sisters have anything? Okay, we'll come back to you, inshallah. All right, okay, so we figured out how to make money. We got a message, content creation. Content creation, yeah, that is one. Not in Canada, for some companies, but yeah. Tutoring, not sure if that was mentioned. Yeah, tutoring is mentioned. Tutoring, mashallah, a lot of smart people in the room do tutoring, pays like crazy. And if you can, try to get a place in person because those are less hard to get. If not, look at tutoring companies online. Tutorly, Paper, I don't know if they're hiring much, but Preply, Varsity Tutors is a good one. All these names, try to keep them in mind for when you actually want to do this stuff. Try to speed this up a little bit here. So extras, these are the extra things for money. So I screenshotted right here a section. I have to get the link for this. But this was from, the link is not available right now, but this was from a McMaster. If you search up research participant McMaster, it'll give you a list of studies that are going on right now that you can hop in for an hour or two and get paid. So it could be a study on, like I did one the other day where they put this gel on your arm and just to test out, like it gives you hypersensitivity to things. So it makes you feel touch easier. I did that study and you get paid like $20, $25 for an hour. So there's a list of these online. You guys have seen the posters around school, but a way more efficient way to do this if you want to grind out and make like a couple $100 in a day or two is go on Google, type in research participant McMaster, something along those lines, and inshallah you'll see 2 or 3 links to different programs that just need research participants. All right, so anything? We'll come back to you. Okay, perfect. So number 4, we figured out how to make money. We know that we should track things. Our expenses. How are we doing? How's everybody feeling for time? Are we okay? You guys still got energy? You're honest. Yeah. Okay. So expenses. Warren Buffett's #1 rule when investing. A lot of value investors, what do they say? Does anybody know? Buy low, sell high. That's a fan favorite. Standardized patience, yes. Oh yeah, that is a really good one. So standardized patients, those are the people that act, or they act as patients for med students, for nurses, for physio students. They come into the room and they act like a patient, and you do different examinations or different things on them, or you might just have a conversation. And those guys, from what I heard, get paid really well. So if you're able to secure any of those jobs, do that. Jazakallah khair for the recommendation. So Warren Buffett, he says, yes, you know.
If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die.
Oh, takbir. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. I've heard that. I don't know who said it. I'll take your word, Warren Buffett. Yeah. So he said, life is like a sandwich. Doesn't matter which way you flip it, the bread comes first. No, that's not what he said. He said, protect. What he really said was protect your money. #1 rule of investing is don't lose money. Whatever you do, if you're making $1 million and you're just good at losing money, you're going to lose that $1 million. #1 thing when it comes to investing, when it comes to your expenses as well, is protect your money. There's 2 kinds of expenses. Very briefly, fixed expenses. These are the things that you have to pay always. Your bills that stay the same, anything that stays the same. Your variable are different things, courses that come up, gas varies, right? All those kind of things are variable expenses. Some real examples of how to save money. So first, have a list of priorities of things you want to spend on. This should be in your budget as well. And then real examples of how to save money. The biggest one, I think, for students, is my opinion, is cooking. So eating out versus being in your house, cooking at your house. I did a little calculation. So 9 chicken breasts from Costco, it's about $30. 2 kilograms of rice, it's about $6. We add those 2 up. Who can do the math? Quick. 36, mashallah. $36. So that'll make you about 10 meals, right? If you do the math on that, that's about $108 for 10 meals. Okay, follow me. Sorry, it's $36 for 10 meals. Now that for the month, times it by 3, it's 108, right? So 1 meal for a month, $108 of chicken and rice. We're staying basic here, no judgment. If you get the same rice and chicken from Pita and More, it's about $14.99, give or take. Multiply that by 30, and that's $450. That's huge. That's more than 4 times. Yes, more than 4 times the difference of eating out versus cooking at home. And that's compounded. You're not doing that for one meal, you're doing that for 3 meals a day, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Number one way to save money as a student is cook, learn how to cook. There's an upcoming cooking workshop. Keep your eye out on Instagram. It's gonna be great. Come learn how to cook. Brothers and sisters are all welcome. Keep an eye out, inshallah. In a very professional building, full kitchen setup. It's gonna be great. Oh, they could be happening soon. I just got word that it's a potential. Could or could not happen. So the second thing here that we can save money on is government assistance and rebates. So if you pay bills, this one applies to you. Electric Utilities is who gives us our electricity for the most part. Go on their website, they have a rebate. And if you have parents, tell them this knowledge, it's very beneficial to them. They have a rebate for $500 based on your income level, and they just give you that credit on your bills. So electricity, I have not been paying since I've been in Hamilton, but you can also benefit from the same thing. They have two different programs. One is $600, one is $500, and they just apply those to your bills. So look into these things. Student deals, you guys all know about the 10% on Tuesdays. They do 10% off groceries around here. But also on your bills, there's student deals for your phone plan. There's student deals for different kinds of services that you use. Always look into them. Spotify has it, Amazon has it, YouTube has student deals for all these things. Make sure you guys are doing that. And the last example I have here, I think, is your technology. So refurbished products is the number one way to save on technology, in my opinion. What is a refurbished product? It's a way to save $400 on a MacBook. Technically speaking, refurbished products are things that are not factory original. So for some reason, they've been manipulated in some way. Oh, that's a bad word to use. They're just not brand new out of the box. So they can be returned. Exactly, yeah. So they could be returned for some reason the person didn't like it, or they could have had a problem with them, and then the company fixes it, and then they test it and make sure it's all good to go, and then they resell it. So they are tested. That's the key thing, is that the people in the store test them, they make sure they're good to go, and then they sell them. So this example on a MacBook Pro, it's $1,700. But if you go on the MacBook website, the refurbished one, you could buy the same one for $400 less. So you're getting the exact same product essentially. It might have just been opened from the box and put back in and returned for $400 less. So that's another thing to keep in mind there. Another thing is vehicle expenses. When it comes to gas, there's an app called Gas Buddy. Look it up. It's a good one. It tells you what the cheapest gas price is around. And then in terms of insurance, negotiate. One point that I didn't make too big of an emphasis on is negotiating, just because of time. But this is my favorite personally. In terms of making money, in terms of saving money, negotiate everything. So when you get a job, make sure, don't be afraid. Negotiate your salary when you start. And employers expect you to do this. Some employers, if you don't negotiate your salary, it is a poor reflection on you and your knowledge of finance and business and the world of professionalism. I had a boss where we got to the end of the interview, and at the end of the interview, I said, "What am I getting paid?" And that's when he's like, "Oh, we weren't going to hire you if you didn't ask that question, because your money is obviously a part of your job. So negotiate this." Same thing goes when it comes to expenses. Negotiate your expenses. Once a year, it's common practice in financial advice. You'll see it in a lot of different books and stuff. Once a year, call your insurance providers, call the people that bill you, and negotiate with them. Say, "Hey, I found this company. They're giving me this price. What can you do?" And straight up, they'll reduce your bill by like $200-300 on the spot. I've done it with Shaw. I've done it with TELUS for my parents. It works for anything. Even insurance, same thing. So your vehicle insurance, that's something everyone can do almost instantly. Ooh, okay, so we got through the heavy stuff, the income, the expenses. Now, the spending rules. So these sound scary, but they're not actually rules. They're just little tips. So these are something that we have to come up for ourselves. And anything we do in life, we got to generate a little framework to help us get where we want to go, right? You have a goal, you're going to have some general tips and pointers. And these, inshallah, although the rules, they're going to give you freedom, right? if you follow these few things, then that means you can spend your money however you want outside of these. Some examples here is like a no debt policy. As a Muslim, this one's pretty important. Whether or not you choose to take this on, it's your decision. But a no debt policy, have a policy where maybe the only debt you'll take is borrowing from your family, right? Have these general guidelines in your head to navigate your personal finances now, in addition to when you're 40 or when you're 50 or when you have a family. These will save you a lot of headache. Saving percent. When you start to have a job, reoccurring income, have a percent that you're just going to save and not touch. An emergency fund. When you get more responsibility and you have a family, you don't want to get sick, take a week off work, and then the bank comes and is asking for your house back. You want to have an emergency fund of some money where you can continue to take your family to Umrah or to Hawaii or to whatever you do with your life. I'm bringing up the very pious examples, but the point is have an amount that is safe. There's a little acronym here. This helps you kind of conceptualize the past few things that we talked about. CEO, C, cut expenses, E, earn more, O, optimize your spending. That's something that everyone can kind of take home. And that's kind of a nice little foundation to begin your personal finance journey on. Okay, the last few points here. So banking and the spending vehicles, that's what I like to call them because these things can it's basically how your money's actually spent in different institutions. When it comes to banking, for most people, you're going to open up two things, very simple: checking account, which is where your money is going to move back and forth when you spend it, and a savings account. That is usually one you can't spend out of. It is only used to transfer from your savings to your checkings. For students, what you want to look for is 4 basic things. Every bank account should have these. It's pretty basic. It's unlimited interactions, no fees, unlimited, and no fee e-transfers. Those are basic. If you're finding a bank account or you're opening one as an international student or whatnot that doesn't have those, don't open it. And then report them to CRA or something, because that's like a basic thing. The next thing is your savings account. When you open up a savings account, try to get one that doesn't have interest on it. A lot of them will, and it might be a thing that you just overthink, but that is not good. Yes.
Well, just one personal thing. I bank with BMO, and I automatically had a savings account. And what I had to do was I had to go to my local bank branch, and I got them to change my savings account into essentially just a checkings account. I mean, I still use it for savings, but it doesn't accumulate interest. It's not technically a savings account.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So one of the brothers here had a savings account with interest. He acted responsibly, went back, let him know the situation, and they essentially opened up a second checkings account, which didn't have interest on it. So that is another option. If you don't feel like switching banks entirely, you can open up a second checkings account. Keep in mind, look into it. Some banks, their checkings accounts might also have interest on it. I may be mistaken on this point, but I think there's some that have like a 0.1% interest rate on their checkings accounts. So look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, now talking about savings account, I think by default, a lot of major institutions, BMO, they do have interest-bearing accounts. So you mentioned about investing vehicles. So find like an investing account. There's usually ones that are halal-based, like Muslim-based, and those usually generate income for you. So in addition to saving, you do have an investment vehicle rather than just using your interest-bearing account.
Oh, okay,
So
interesting.
like one example, they have Muslim-based or tax-free savings account.
Oh, that is cool. I didn't know about that. Okay. Jazakallah khair. So I did a little bit of research on 2 that were top rated by Forbes and a few other institutions for students were Scotiabank and HSBC. Keep those in mind. Most of us probably have bank accounts. If you don't, Scotiabank and HSBC. Yeah.
I was told that as a kid in my courses, I don't know what details about, but there's a new account called Attack, which is sort of your TFSA and your whatever, it's like a combination. You get the best of both sides. So it's a non-taxable investment account, and the limit is, I think, bigger than TFSA. Do your research.
FH, okay. So what they were saying that there is a new account that is a combination of your TFSA and I don't know what the other one is, but it's essentially investment account that is tax free. So the acronym is FHSA. I haven't heard about that, but jazakallah khair. Let me think. And the limit is bigger than the TFSA.
That is
Yeah.
a side point for that account. You have to use it towards buying a home, else it's not going to be tax free.
Okay.
That's
All right. So that one is do your own research on.
You can sign off if you don't want to hold up that. Because, yeah, you can actually specifically request it completely, just make sure you do the contract.
Yeah.
I have lots of options, so.
Yeah, so there are times, like sister was saying, there are times you can request it, have a meeting with the bank agent that's opening up the account for you and request to have the interest removed. Some banks might allow it, some might not. Okay, so you got your bank account set up. Next thing you want to do is be able to spend the money that's in the bank account. You're going to do this in two ways, either a debit card or a credit card. A debit card is pulling money out of your checkings account. You physically have to have the money there and a debit card to spend it. In a credit card, you don't have to have the money there. What they're going to do is loan you out money. So your credit card is like a little loan card. They're going to loan you out money. You spend as much of that money as you want until you hit the limit. And then at the end of the month, they expect you to pay that back from somewhere.
Recommendation for that is you can set up an automated payment system.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
that one's coming, inshallah. So for debit cards, this is the safest way to go. Only spend the money you have. And then get a Visa debit. A Visa debit acts like a credit card, but it still acts on the premise that is your money needs to be in the account to spend it. But you're going to get an expiry date on it as well as a CCV code so that you can use it for online transactions.
prepaid. The prepaid card.
Prepaid cards, I think, are separate. So prepaid cards are a little bit different. I'm not an expert on prepaid cards, but those are a third category. So it'd be a Visa debit, a debit card, and a prepaid card. The prepaid card, I think you have to pay physically to put money on it, and then it acts as a credit card. So in terms of credit cards, that's something as well. There's a bit of a difference of opinion on that. Because if you don't pay that amount off, then you're gonna get interest on it. So that's a big X. So same thing, if you're interested in that, Saturday when the checks are coming, load them up with all the questions. Okay, postpone till further notice. So save that question. But credit cards, same thing, the difference of opinion. Essentially, some sheikhs will say that they're okay because if you pay off the loan in time that there's no interest put on you, then that is allowed. Others say that signing a contract with interest on it is permissible from the start. We won't get into it more than that, but yeah. Visa debit, from my knowledge, does not affect your credit score. I'll double check that, but Visa debit, it has to be credit cards that increase your credit because you're physically loaning the money and then you're repaying it. Whereas a Visa debit, you have the money in your account. There's no loans being handled. But perfect segue into the next thing. So you got your credit card now or your debit card and your bank account. When you have these two things, congratulations, you're now an adult. But you also are going to start having a credit score. Oh, spoiler alert. Who here knows what a credit score is? Yeah, buddy.
I don't know the score works, but it's a combination of like anytime you've borrowed money or have a lot of money.
Exactly, yeah. So what she said, it's essentially how you borrow money and how reliable you've been paying it back. So you guys know when you want to get married, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to go and ask about the person, right? Well, institutions and organizations do this exact same thing. Before they lend you guys money, they're going to go and ask all the other organizations and institutions about lending you money and who you are as a person. So your credit score is essentially a rating that's given to people based on how responsible of a consumer you are. When you get a credit card and a bank account, then you're going to be accountable. You're going to have a history of your transactions. This doesn't seem that important. It might seem like adult stuff, but this right here is a list of the people that are allowed to see your credit report. And it's a list of the decisions people use based on your credit score. So check out some of these: banks, credit card companies, car leasing, retailers, mobile phone companies, governments, employers, and landlords. These decisions could affect you if you have a bad credit score by your ability to lend money to you on their collecting of a debt from you, rental housing, getting a job, getting insurance, getting a promotion, and getting a credit increase. It's a lot of stuff. Even if you're a Muslim that doesn't use any credit at all, it'll still affect you if you're trying to rent a house. I know my landlord asked me for a credit check, and for a lot of us, a lot of my roommates didn't have the credit report available. So luckily there was one of us that had it. But without that, Allah, we might not have been able to rent the place. Another positive from the Muslim sphere is that if you do have really good credit, you can convince some loaners in certain cases, like in leasing a car, which I don't recommend, but in the case you have to lease a car, you can convince them to do a 0% loan for you, which in that case, there's no interest on the loan. And they'll only do that if you have good credit. What gets your credit to be good? How do you get good credit? You pay on time. And how do you get bad credit? You don't pay on time. To get into that just a little bit more. Yeah, so how do you get good credit? Essentially, you pay things back on time. You don't spend the maximum amount you're allowed to spend. What the government of Canada reports and what they recommend is spending 30% of the credit available to you. It's called the CRU, a credit utilization rate. When you have credit available, $2,000 or $1,000, you're going to want to spend $300, and you're going to want to pay that off on time, even before time if you're able to. One suggestion Brother Bilal offered, our finance man, make dua for him, is that you can automate these payments on your credit card so that you don't even have to keep track when they're due. You just automate the payment and khalas, it takes care of it for you. You don't get into bad books with the CRA or with the credit bureaus, actually. Yeah, don't max them out. It doesn't look good. The two main credit bureaus in Canada are Equifax and TransUnion. So if you ever have credit stuff, keep those two company names in mind to make sure you don't get scammed by someone claiming that they're from the credit bureau. Equifax and TransUnion. So the ways to build your credit, unfortunately, there are a few ways to build your credit. Most of them revolve around getting credit. So getting, I don't know if you want to call them loans, but getting money lent to you in the form of a credit card could be one way, and then paying it back on time. So an easy way to do this is a credit card. You get it when you're young, you use it, you pay it off on time very early, and you only use 30% of that. That helps build your credit up. And if you do have one, make sure you don't incur any interest. Like I said, that one, once again, varies based on what opinions you follow and whatnot. Congratulations. We finished Personal Finance 101. We are going to wrap up with the two same case studies. So Ahmed and Zainab, Masakin, they missed the MSA Personal Finance lecture and they want to know what you've learned. Let's give them give them 5 pieces of advice on how they can improve their financial situation using what you learned. So this is a really good way right now. The names we dropped, the research studies, the different websites. Give them 5 pieces of advice on how they can improve their financial situation. We'll give you guys 2 minutes and we'll see what you guys come up with. Do them one at a time. Do one for Ahmed and then do one for Zainab as well. Okay, 1 minute warning. 1 minute.
That's technically so, but that's yeah. But like since it's a credit product, that's in a sense. Why did you credit? No, like, yeah, I think it's and, I like the company.
Yeah, we're gonna do Q&A.
Okay, later.
We're gonna get started.
I have a small question, but you see the website, the kind of see the website like the interest information.
Yeah, I can tell you about it. I'll send you the link personally.
Tell me please. Because that's my current.
Okay, let's see what you guys and girls came up with. So we'll get started. We'll break it down one by one. First, let's go through Zainab. What did you guys come up with? How are we gonna help our sister here? Yeah, what are some tips?
Cooking for that.
Cooking.
Yeah,
Okay, cooking. That's a valid one. Why should she cook?
to save money.
Perfect. Okay, because she buys lunch and dinner at school. Exactly.
That's expensive.
Yeah, and that's expensive. So she should cook. Perfect.
Yeah.
Any other tips for Zainab? Her grades are good. Exactly. She could get scholarships easily and awards. Zainab?
I don't know, if it's in life side, also maybe taking part in research studies could also give like some benefit from the schools.
Yeah, so taking part in research studies, those give her benefits for getting into med school. Perfect. That's exactly what I had. Yeah. We have some in the chat here. Carpool to save money for the first point and use Gas Buddy to get the best prices for gas. This brother took notes, mashallah, brother Hamza. You're doing well, brother. Find alternatives for good phone, bill pricing, student deals, maybe. Exactly. Negotiate that down. Yeah, for Molly.
You rent out her car and take the train to school.
MashaAllah. She can rent. She can. That is probably the best answer I've heard tonight. She can get on Turo. Turo is the car app. She can get on Turo, rent out her car, and take the bus here. Yeah, I know a couple people on Turo that are doing really well. So yeah. Negotiate her tutor salary. So if she works part-time as a tutor, negotiate that as well. Exactly. Any opportunity. She didn't do it before. Might be tougher that she has the job, but still negotiate it. Doesn't hurt. They're not gonna fire you. She can use the MSA meal plan instead of meal prepping and cooking for herself. Okay, okay, running it up. She can buy the MSA membership, get the discounts, stack that with the MSA meal plan. Halas, she's basically a millionaire. She can drop out. She's set for life. That's it. Okay, I think Zainab, we've sorted out her situation very sufficiently, mashallah. A little bit jealous, but we'll leave Zainab at that. On to brother Ahmed. I'm very impressed by that, mashallah. This is actually it's blowing me away. These are better suggestions than I came up with, so I won't even read mine. For Ahmed, yeah, last one.
Use the Arabic skills like for the tutoring or helping people back home.
This is for Ahmed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because he speaks Arabic and English, like many of us do here, he can use that skill to teach people back home and tutor them.
Because the person is jobless, he can apply for scholarships.
Yeah, because he's jobless, he can apply for scholarships. And even if he has a job, he can apply for that. Because he's jobless, he should be doing that on the clock. Exactly. Yeah. Sister Maria.
Outsource his Zing capability and make it Zing first. Furthermore, he can put the contract Zing workers and like come people's access.
So because he's so great at Zing, he can contract his skills and be a contracted zinger. Kind of like a sniper, a paper snipe kind of guy. Perfect, yeah. Yeah, I don't have one for that. Turn Zing into a benefit. Yeah.
Move off campus and cancel the meal plan.
Move off campus and cancel the meal plan. Exactly, yeah. So I had that too. Try to move in with roommates, good brothers, and then teach each other how to cook. Or get one person in the house to cook and charge the other guys, and it's 2 in 1.
Exactly, yeah,
Make
you
more
can start
money.
looking at charges.
Or if it's on campus, if you get a campus job, they already lives on campus.
Ahsant. So before he moves off campus, get a campus job while he's still there. Realistically, this is what happens for first years. You're in there for the first year. Get a job on campus while you have that benefit. Once you move off campus, try to spread your wings, find something better for yourself, move up in the world, inshallah. I'm going to read just a few online. So apply for bursaries, Arabic tutoring, TA position, maybe for Arabic or engineering. Be a personal trainer, which is like a Zing ref. Yes.
My friends, they told me that if you take transfer courses at the basket,
Yeah.
it's cheaper.
Yeah, so one of our brothers here recommended Athabasca University, which I also personally advocate for. I did some courses through Athabasca and Algonquin University. But you can take them through there and they're cheaper. Not only are they cheaper through Athabasca, but you can fast track your degree. So in your degree, you're allowed to take 5 or 6 courses, I think. If you want to be an extra keener, you can take some through Athabasca and they give you 6 months to do them. You can also do these over spring and summer. So if you're here and you want to take courses and get ahead, I did this for 2 years and it was amazing, mashallah. I loved it. You get 6 months over spring, summer to take a course. And some of these courses you can finish in 1 month and they're cheaper. So instead of sitting in your lectures here for 6 months or for 4 months and stressing about exams and whatnot, look online, see if they have your course, try to do it online with ease, and save money. Jazakallah khair for bringing that up. Really good point. Yeah. Yeah, so because he works on because he lives on res, he can work as a RA, which stands for a resident advisor. And because he's a resident advisor, he lives on campus. I think one of our sisters in the MSA also does that job on our team. So people need more information on that. We have a person, inshallah. But that job, you do it and you get free rent in exchange for managing a level of the residents there. Yeah, Zain, we'll take this last one.
This wasn't mentioned, but filing taxes on his tuition since not student.
Filing taxes on his tuition because he's an international student, exactly. Yeah, so you could still get rebates from textbooks you buy, international student fees, different things in that scope. So that essentially covers most of the ones. For engineering, do CAD tutoring or suggest web design if those are viable options. I don't know if anyone needs CAD tutoring, but use the skills you have, tutor in them. Jobless, get a job. All right, so just a summary, all the things we went over, we're at the finish line. We went over what is finance, tracking, budgeting, income, expenses, money rules, banking, and credit. And just to bring things home, most important part of the whole presentation, a hadith of our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Jabbar bin Abdullah narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "O people, fear Allah and be moderate in seeking a living, for no soul will die until it has received all of its provision, even if it is slow in coming." So fear Allah and be moderate in seeking provision. Take that which is permissible and leave that which is forbidden. Oftentimes in these pursuits of wealth and these pursuits of prestige and accolades and things that are going to make our time easier here on earth, we forget what the end goal is always. So always bring yourselves back to what's important. Know that until you die, your rizq is written for you, and until you die, you're going to taste every drop of what's written for you. So never think to take a haram route to get your money faster, easier, because you'll see it with your own eye that just as quick as it comes, it's going to go the same way. And it'll only bring you hardship. So something's already given to you. Go about it the halal way. Get hasanat for it. Struggle for it. It'll be so much more worth it. And inshallah, it'll be filled with much more blessings. Jazakumullahu khairan. We'll take any last minute questions. Yeah.
Any chance we get access to the slides?
The slides, inshallah, yeah. I'll do you even one better. I'll make a resource with the slides, and then I'll put links and different website titles and all that.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Sell access for $5.
Yeah, that's it.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I agree that there are ones that are quote unquote unfair, that don't charge any interest. Does anybody have any ideas?
So sister's asking about no interest credit cards. I don't know if I've come across that.
I think they might be.
I don't know of any advantages, but I have something called Coho. Coho, you can get what they call a prepaid credit card. So it works still the same function as a credit card, except you can only spend money which you already put in the account, and thus kind of like good cashback stuff. And I know a lot of Muslims that have it. Yeah, I know that does not answer the question.
Yeah, as for the interest, I don't know of any that won't charge you interest if you don't pay on time. So there's none to my knowledge. Allahu A'lam. Someone asked which bank could you suggest open an account with after you graduate and are no longer a student for max benefits. It's from one of the sisters here. So I like TD as a bank. That's one of my favorites, mostly for the investment options that they have and the ease of transfers, being able to transfer money to different investment accounts like Questrade and whatnot, and being able to open up a TFSA with them and invest straight from there. And they also they have their own investment portfolio. So inshallah, once we accumulate more wealth, you want to start to diversify your income. That's a really good bank. Also look into some of the banks in terms of their stance on Palestine and whether or not they are sending money there and whether or not they're sending money to the oppressors. Keep that in mind right now, because there are some banks that are doing better things than others. So unfortunately, most of the banks are not doing amazing things, but keep that in mind when you're considering what bank to go with as well. Yes.
I had a question about credit checks. I don't know if you mentioned this specifically, but to my knowledge, I think you can see your credit, but like you can notify someone. Do you know, I guess the reason behind that, is there a way to use credit without it impacting you?
So the question was, essentially, if you don't mind, I'll just summarize it. How can you check your credit? When you do check your credit, it notifies someone or the CRA, and how can you go about that without it negatively affecting you? So when you check your credit, when you yourself check it, or when you apply for a car loan, or when you get a job, or when you do different things, there's two types of checks. There's a soft check and there's a hard check. Soft checks are things that don't affect your credit score negatively, or if they do, it's super, super minuscule. And then there's hard checks. Those are things that'll drop your credit by 6 or 7 points for the sole fact that someone is inquiring about your credit. I can't remember the list of hard and soft checks off the top of my head, but when you use these free apps like Credit Karma, when you use these light checks for yourself, those are a soft check. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to give wrong info here, but I think lenders, car lenders, renters, landlords, when those people inquire, they do hard checks, and those are what decrease it by 5 or 6 points. A hard check is also a credit card. So when you apply for a credit card, don't go crazy and apply for 6, because each time you apply for a credit card, that's a hard check on your account. It'll drop your points. And from what I hear, it's harder to get a good score when you're older. Alhamdulillah, most of us probably like have a really good score because as Muslims, we don't do minimum payments, we don't get interest. So a lot of us will have scores in like the 800s. For non-Muslims, that's like crazy. Like that's something really to be proud of and to try to keep and uphold, and it'll just make your life easier. Does that answer your question? Perfect. Yeah, from Molly.
To address your question, specific question, I think some banks, things like RBC, they offer, credit report. You just search online how to, you might check, a credit report, like various bank institution. And you can avoid paying for like Equifax and TransUnion to do the check for you, so.
Yeah.
Some banks offer that.
So the brother suggested going through your bank. That's a really good idea. Go through your bank. If you don't want to use third-party apps like Credit Karma, go through your bank first, see if they'll do it for you without having it affect your credit score. You can always ask the people, is this going to be a hard check or a soft check? They might know. Equifax or TransUnion, yeah, I would avoid going to them. It's likely going to be a hard check if you go do it through the credit bureaus. So try not to go through those guys. Okay, we'll take last question. A soft check through Credit Karma is the easiest way. Yeah. It's a company that is made by Intuit, who's like a major finance company. They're like one of the leading finance companies, probably one of the safer bets to go with. I don't know if I trust putting my information into a bunch of random other apps, and they ask for your social insurance number, but it is optional on there. Most of the information is your name, your address, basic stuff, nothing too personal. All right, last question. Yeah.
Are there any apps you can start investing from?
Are there any apps you can start investing from? I would highly suggest doing a fiqh of transactions before, because the investment world is very chaotic. There are different apps you can start investing from tomorrow if you wanted to, but you just want to make sure you're investing in halal stocks, in halal portfolios. And a lot of these apps make it super, super easy to get in there. You put in your money, you might start making money, you might start losing money. You get your emotions in there, and then it's hard to kind of see things clearly. So there are apps. Once you do your research and whatnot, inshallah, people can advise you. There's a ton. There's some that are really, really easy. There's some that are famous in Canada. I'm sure you'll come across them. But I'll save the names for now, and inshallah, I can release that info after the talk. If that's all right. Does that answer your question? Is that all right? Yeah. Long story short, wealth simple is a good, easy one. But yeah, do the research before. I just want to scare you a little bit, just to do the research, because it's an important matter. And it's really difficult. It's really complex. It's an area of fiqh that is just not something you want to try to take on yourself.
Look at investment from both
Exactly, yeah.
and from like a money making point of view. Like don't just go into something that's just tied to just invest. Understand what you're investing in and the projections, and there's a lot of things to look at investments. It's better to know what you're going for.
Yeah, for investments, don't make sure it's Islamically sound, and make sure it's a good investment decision. It's a very easy, investing is the easiest way to lose money, to be honest with you. It's numbers on a screen. It doesn't feel real. You will make $1,000 one day and lose $5,000 the next day. So it doesn't hit you. I would highly recommend, like a personal recommendation, whether you take it or leave it, but until you have like 10 grand that you are comfortable losing like that, I wouldn't invest. I would focus on making money, having stable income streams. That's going to make you so much more comfortable and make you able to sleep better with money in the market when you know you have 2 or 3 grand coming in each month. If you don't have an income stream, don't look at investments. Like maybe do paper trading, which they give you fake money and you invest as if it's real, but it's fake money. But if you only have 10 grand or 5 grand and you invest that, then you're going to be so emotional when it goes up and down. You're going to buy low, buy high, sell low, opposite to what our brother recommended. So yeah, as for most of our conditions, I'm gonna make an assumption, assume we're all in a similar place. Right now, prioritize in your young years, prioritize making money, prioritize different income streams, prioritize having the money first, saving it. Do whatever you gotta do Hajj, pay off your loans, help out your parents a little bit. And in the meantime, try to invest as much as you can to help build that bird's nest so that you can benefit the ummah and yourselves and your families, inshallah. Okay. Jazakumullahu khairan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. And buy MIMC tickets are out. Make sure you buy them. Yes.
What's happening on Monday?
What is happening on Monday?
Oh, you didn't know?
What is happening on Monday? On Monday, there is a tax workshop on how to do your taxes. That is another thing no one will tell you. When you make money, whether you are making money or not, do your taxes. The CRA will come after you. They are watching this video. And you don't want them to come after you because when they do, if you ever do get audited, they will audit you as far back as they want. So if you're in this country, if you're making money or if you're a student or spending money, make sure you figure out how to do your taxes. At the very least, pay someone to do your taxes. Taxes are very hairy and ugly. It's really nice to have someone to be able to do them for you. But on Monday, inshallah, there's a free seminar. Make sure you come out, support, and learn what taxes are about. And it's a one-time thing. Go in, do it, do your responsibility, and know that you're doing your due diligence in terms of your finances. Okay. Assalamu alaikum.